Hello, in this video I wanted to talk about gaslighting, going back to basics. So gaslighting is a covert way of distorting another person's perception of reality, making them question their sanity and their memory. This is crazy making. It makes you think that you're actually going crazy. Hello, my name's Elizabeth Goddard from Revive Your Soul. And on this channel, I talk about healing from emotional abuse, divorcing emotionally from the emotional abuser, and divorce. If you're new to the channel, please like and subscribe. And if you're returning, welcome back and thank you. Gaslighting is one of the terms that you will hear. It's cognitive dissonance. It's a covert way of distorting another person's perception of reality. The technique is used to gain power and control over you. You can't trust yourself or your perception of reality, and you start to believe the abuser's version of events, and slowly they begin to take over your life. And it's gaslighting that was used to make you feel that something was wrong with you. They use tactics to deflect from their behaviour, making you feel that you were mentally unstable or that you were overreacting. For people healing from these toxic relationships, this can cause emotional confusion and anxiety. Eventually, you may have started to wonder what was happening and that you couldn't trust your own judgment. You had created bonds with this person, and it's them you turn to for protection. The term gaslighting comes from a play that was written by Patrick Hamilton. It's called Gaslight. He wrote it in 1938. It was also made into, I think it's 2 films. The story is about a man who meets a young woman. She falls deeply in love with him and believes that he feels the same way about her. And then he starts to play with her mind. The wife, Bella, gets upset with her husband's unexplained disappearances and his failure to tell her where he's going, and this increases her anxiety. Their husband, Jack, makes her believe that she's actually going crazy, and he uses this form of manipulation on the people around her as well. They believe, just like his wife, that he's protecting her, and Jack systematically manipulates her. And this is where the term gaslighting comes from, and it's now commonly used to describe this manipulative behaviour. When you experience any form of anxiety or go through a prolonged period of stress, your brain goes into survival mode and you can't make decisions. You can barely look after yourself. Gaslighting or cognitive dissonance is a very unique experience for each individual, and it's used to gain power and control over you and others. They use it to convince you that they're right and your perception of what happened is wrong. They will use gaslighting to manipulate you and to trauma bond you. And you believe they're looking after you when in fact they're abusing you. And they erase the abuse that took place by playing the victim and turning everything around to be your fault, telling you that their behaviour is a direct result of the way that they were being treated. They change or fabricate conversations or events that never happened. They might say things like, "I never said that," or you actually might find yourself saying it, as they've twisted your words, and then you're wondering if you did say it and now you can't remember. Or they might say something didn't happen, as they change the details to cover their tracks. And then you end up questioning yourself, wondering if it really did happen and that you actually can't remember. They'll tell you you're bipolar, you're paranoid, you're too sensitive, you're overreacting. Or you might hear, "I think you want me to have an affair," when you start to question things. They make up stories and triangulate you with others to create jealousy, and then tell you that other people agree with them, eroding your self-esteem. They may feign concern and declare that they're only concerned for your well-being, when in fact their only concern at this point is to protect themselves. When they stop covering their tracks, they're done with you. They don't want to waste any of their valuable energy on you. You are no longer fit for purpose. The final discard is coming. You have nothing left for them. You probably don't have the resources to support them, and they found someone else who can. When all the statements are laid out together, you can see they are abusive. But gaslighting doesn't happen like that. They drip feed you over time, erode your personality and change your reality. This was very different from a normal breakup, be it romantic, a friendship or a family member or work colleague. Only a person who has gone through this very specific form of abuse will understand what it is like and how deep the trauma runs. For me, understanding what cognitive dissonance was and the effects it had on my brain was like waking up from some deep hibernation. And the state your brain works in has been described as fog. You might also feel confused, keep questioning yourself. You might find you're jumping at the slightest sound. You might feel vulnerable and doubt your decision making or start to question everything. And there is nothing worse than that feeling of loneliness. Being in a relationship but feeling very alone with no one to turn to for support but the person who is abusing you. When I understood what I'd been through, my brain couldn't compute it. Why I was so forgetful, why I wasn't able to retain information, why I was reacting totally out of character, and how this has happened. But it was the very start of my healing. It was as if somebody had turned on a light and the relief was huge. I remember thinking, oh, I'm not that crazy. It was a milestone, a stepping stone of my own recovery. And I was able to cut away some of those invisible chains that were holding me or had hold over me. I'd been replaying the same scenarios over and over in my mind and asking the same questions. What if and if only? I was able to replay events and situations that didn't match up, the weird excuses and how I was jealous and had trust issues. Understanding the cycle of abuse, the gaslighting and the other tactics that we used helped me to make sense of everything. This form of abuse penetrates on so many different levels. Your brain was tricked to believe what you were told was the truth. And it takes time to de-traumatize. And it is so easy to slip down that dark hole when faced with new facts or new situations. You were never going to get the closure you needed, and that was part of their game. It can take a while to trust, constantly clarifying the things that you've been told. It's like a heightened trigger is in your brain, slowly going over all the information that you've been told, questioning what people are telling you. And if you spot an inaccuracy in their story or the details, it's like you go on hyper alert, fact checking, making sure everything fits. I promise you this does actually calm down, but it is a really useful tool, so don't dispose of it straight away. And you'll find a lot of your friendships change. You might discover other people in your life have been doing the same or similar things. You turned off your intuition and it might now be waking up. And you can use your gaslighting BS spotter to protect yourself. People do make mistakes. It might be they omitted part of a conversation out to save time. And you've picked up the timeline doesn't fit. But what you can do is check in with your gut and see how the story makes you feel. Does it make sense? Do not try to rationalise their behaviour, see it for what it is. An emotional abuser won't see anything wrong with their behaviour, so don't try to approach them about it. Either then move them out of your life or use techniques to protect yourself. Gaslighting is a pattern of behaviour. Trust your intuition. If something doesn't feel right, it usually isn't. There are so many different techniques that you can use to help you. If this is something that's happened to you and you're just coming out of the relationship and just understanding what's happened, going no contact is the very first thing you need to do. Promise you it will help you heal so quickly. You need to break the trauma bond that happened, those invisible chains that are tying you to that relationship. I hope you found the video useful. If you'd like to find out more about working with me, I'll put the links below in the description box. Also, I'll put the links to the groups that I run on Facebook and links to both my books, Finding Lily and The A to Z of Emotional Abuse. Sending you loads and loads and loads of love.